You look like something my gardener scraped off his boot." That was the first thing she said to me. The words just hung there, sticky in the heavy morning air, mixing with the fake jasmine smell her landscapers piped in, and the sharp stink of sulfur bubbling up from somewhere down the hill. Serafina Thorne stood in front of me, two security goons at her side, both built like gym rats with anger management issues. Her icy blue suit probably cost more than my truck. And I'll tell you, my truck's a 1978 Bronco with more rust than paint, but the engine's got enough life to get me where I need to go. Behind her, those wrought iron gates of Elysium Heights rose up 20 feet high, all topped with gold-plated lions glaring down like they owned the whole county. "Move this junk or I'll have it crushed with you inside," she snapped, not even glancing at me, just checking her platinum watch like I was an overdue delivery. She gave me 30 seconds. Thing is, she had no clue 30 seconds was just enough time for a seismic wave to travel through the bedrock under her Italian heels. She also didn't know I was standing dead center on a federal boundary marker set in 1898. And she absolutely did not know the guy she was threatening me was a forensic geologist who spent 2 decades reading earth layers the way some people read crime novels. "My name's Silas Vane. I don't sell real estate. I don't build subdivisions. I listen to the land. I track aquifers, moving limestone cracking, and all the tectonic drama that makes politicians and developers nervous. When the earth speaks, I'm the one who translates for federal courts and insurance companies. But today I wasn't here on a job. I was here because of a rusty key, a letter from an uncle who died alone in a pine cabin, and a question I just couldn't let go." I didn't argue with her. Didn't even raise my voice. I just watched the way the asphalt cracked beneath my boots, spiderwebbing out from the fancy gate's subsidence, the ground sinking under all that weight and ego. Pulled out my field chronograph, banged up thing, survived blizzards and desert heat, and marked the time. 7:14 a.m. Noted the barometric pressure. Noted the rotten egg smell, hydrogen sulfide. The drainage here was shot. Sewage gas leaking back up into the lawns. "You have 10 seconds, Serafina said, flicking her fingers at the guards. One put his hand on his taser. I reached into my shirt pocket and pulled out a battered leather notebook, wrote down his badge number. Then I looked her dead in the eye. "This is a federal survey marker," I said, voice gravelly, too many years breathing dust. "You built your gate right on top of it." She actually laughed, a sharp, brittle sound like glass breaking. "This is private property, Mr. Vane. Elysium Heights owns everything you see. We have the deeds, the titles, the police chief on speed dial. Now get off my land." She called the chief right in front of me, put it on speaker, real performative. "Chief Serafina, I've got a vagrant at the north gate, blocking construction traffic. Code 404, thank you, darling." She ended the call, smiling that predator's smile. 5 minutes, she said. I nodded. Walked to my Bronco, opened the tailgate, pulled out a steel survey stake. The guards tensed, ready for trouble, but I just walked to the edge of the public road, right where her asphalt creeped over the legal easement, and drove the stake deep. The clang echoed off those marble pillars. "I'm not a vagrant, Serafina. I'm the landlord." 4 minutes later, a police cruiser showed up. The cop looked tired, uniform straining at the waist, eyes scanning like he wished he was somewhere else. "Miss Thorne, what's the problem?" She pointed at me like I was dog mess. "He's trespassing, harassing security, damaging property." I handed the cop a faded federal survey map from 1898. "Officer, check the county plat lines. This gate's built 30 feet over the property line, public land." He barely looked at it. "Buddy, I don't know what kind of sovereign citizen game you're playing, but you're blocking a private community. Ms. Thorne says you're trespassing. You're trespassing." "The law doesn't work like that," I said. "Around here it does." He shot back. "Elysium Heights HOA manages our police pension. Leave in your truck or the back of my car." I looked at Serafina, her world, her rules. But she didn't realize what she'd just handed me. "I'll leave. For now. Fired up the Bronco, left in a cloud of blue smoke. Watched them in my mirror, yanking out my survey stake and tossing it in the ditch. Tampering with a federal boundary marker in front of a witness. Felony number 1. I needed a few more. Drove toward the Capitol, the letter from Uncle Arthur burning a hole in my pocket. He'd died 3 weeks back, left me nothing but a safety deposit box key and some GPS coordinates. When I finally opened that box, I didn't find gold, just papers old, moldy, full of history. The Vane Wilderness Trust. 1,200 acres of forest limestone ridges and an aquifer feeding half the county. Great-granddad had put it in trust, protected from development, meant to stay wild forever. Uncle Arthur was trustee. Now it was on me. But when I punched those coordinates into a satellite map, what did I see? Not a forest. Hundreds of rooftops. Pools, tennis courts, a golf course, a green scar across the land. Serafina Thorne's empire. I pulled up to the state archives. No windows, just brutal as concrete truth's last refuge. County records can vanish. State archives keep the real story. Walked down to the basement. Thaddeus Hole sat behind the desk, a relic all tweed and parchment. "Silas," he muttered, "you smell like sulfur." Found a leak, Thaddeus. Big one. I laid down the old map. Dropped the HOA brochure I'd swiped from the gate. Elysium Heights. The Thorne development. Nasty business, he grumbled. They bulldozed a historic cemetery for the golf course. I needed the deed chain. How did a protected trust turn into a subdivision? He shuffled off, came back with a fat ledger. 1995 quitclaim deed, Arthur Vane to Thorne Development for $10 and other consideration. The signature wobbled, barely legible. Thaddeus, look at the date, October 14th, 1995. Arthur was in a coma then. I was there. Thaddeus's eyes narrowed. Now look at the notary, Clarence Thorne, Serafina's father. He had a stroke in July of 95, lost the use of his hand. So a forged signature notarized by a paralyzed man transferred a protected trust for the price of a sandwich. But statute of limitations on fraud is 5 years, Thaddeus warned. Happened 30 years ago. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Not if the transfer was void from the start, I said. If it was forged, it never happened. They're squatters. Thaddeus just shook his head. To prove that you'll need 10 years and $5 million. They'll bury you in motions. I'm not going to civil court. Not yet. I pointed at the map, Blue Line's aquifer. They built a septic system right on top of a federally protected water source. Thaddeus's eyes went wide. 300 luxury homes, golf course, chemical runoff, the ground's rejecting it. They're not just trespassing, they're poisoning the water table. That's not a lawsuit. That's a RICO case. I spent 3 days buried in that basement. Vending machine crackers sleeping in the Bronco building, a timeline, 40 years of paper trails. Found bribed officials, bogus permits, and the same pattern lies fraud. And a woman on the roof thinking she was untouchable. But I needed the human angle, someone inside. That's where I found Era Vance, former treasurer. She'd been booted for hostile work environment. Translation, she asked the wrong question. Tracked her down to a diner on the edge of town. Coffee like battery acid. She looked up exhausted. I'm not buying, I'm selling, I told her, sliding the photo of the forged deed across. She flinched, real fear. Who are you? I own the dirt Serafina's standing on. She laughed bitter. You're 20 years too late. But she started talking. Elysium Heights has broke reserve funds, gone to the clubhouse, and Serafina's consulting fees. I nodded. That's theft, but not fatal. Worse, she said. They took out high-interest loans, started pre-selling Phase 2, 50 new lots, collected $5 million in deposits, haven't broken ground. Used the money to pay old debts. Classic Ponzi scheme. If they don't break ground by month's end, the loans default. The whole thing collapses. Serafina goes down for fraud. She stared at her coffee. She's desperate. That's why she's got the guards everywhere. She'll do anything to get those shovels in the ground, destroy the evidence. I asked for her backup files. She hesitated, terrified. If I give you the smoking gun, she'll burn my house down. She won't have time, I promised. I'm about to keep her busy. Left her with my number and the promise that she'd have the last word. Next day, I called in every favor I had. Needed heavy machinery, a vertical drilling rig, 30 tons of steel, and hydraulics. Friday morning, I drove that beast up the county road, off-roaded right onto the golf course over the old cemetery, parked the rig on the green, set up a camera. Then I waited. Didn't take long, fleet of golf carts screaming over the hill, Serafina at the helm, new teal suit, fury painted across her face. "Stop this!" she screeched. "But I just cranked the drill." Dust coated her perfect hair. "I'm conducting a geological survey, federal mineral rights. You have nothing." She lost it. Ordered the guards to shoot the tires. One smashed my mirror property damage on camera. She climbed the rig, killed the engine. "You're finished," she hissed. I pointed to the camera. Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1362, interfering with a federal survey. She went pale. Threatened lawsuits, promised to ruin me. I just smiled. "Please sue me. Make it public." She did. Next morning, a $10 million lawsuit landed at my motel door. Slander, trespass. Everything but the kitchen sink. My bank accounts were frozen by lunchtime. But here's the thing, her suit meant she had to prove her deed was valid. She'd have to put that forged document in the record. She'd just handed me the smoking gun. I needed one more thing, community pressure. Called Thaddeus, find the water tests, the ones they buried. Called Jackson Pike drone pilot extraordinaire. You want to expose an environmental disaster? We mapped the leaks, thermal cameras catching sewage seeping toward the community, while chemicals dumped into storm drains, illegal pipes everywhere. It was a smoking gun times 10. Then Lux Serafina's gala for Phase 2, the big sales push, politicians, media, everyone who mattered. Perfect. I snuck in through the service entrance. Ara had given me the code. She was in the AV booth, ready for the cue. The ballroom chandelier's orchestra, Serafina on stage selling her kingdom. I grabbed the mic. Security came at me. But then, from the back, Thaddeus Hull and a dozen locals blocked them. Let him speak. I hit the cue. Era swapped the slides up, came the old federal map, then the thermal scans. "You're not buying luxury," I said. "You're buying a septic tank. The land's stolen. The water's poison." Gasps. Champagne glasses dropped. Serafina snapped. Lost control, ranted about my family, insulted the dead. I pulled out the old Zippo lighter, flipped it open to the inscription, "To Arthur Vane for giving me breath when I had none. Seth Thorne, 1985. The room fell silent. My uncle had saved her father's life in a mine collapse, sworn to keep this land sacred. She'd used his name to steal it. "You don't deserve the name, Thorne," I told her. "You're just a tenant and your lease is up." Doors crashed open, FBI, EPA, U.S. Marshals. Serafina was arrested right there on her stage. Handcuffs snapped. "You don't have a ballroom, ma'am. You have a crime scene." The aftermath was chaos. Investors running, politicians deleting texts, guards surrendering. Court was quick. The judge tossed the deed void from day one. The land reverted to the trust. The houses, trespassing improvements. Mortgages unsecured. The residents, once Serafina's supporters, now squatters in mansions they didn't own. Justice, but not the kind you see on TV. I gave them 30 days to move out. Banks panicked, foreclosures hit, and the gates of Elysium Heights were empty in a month. I tore down the private property sign underneath the old name Vane Woods. Developers offered me millions, but that red stain on the thermal map still poisoned the earth. So I called the Wilderness Conservancy, sold them the land for the cost of restoration, not a penny more. Every house leveled, every road ripped up, the aquifer healed. Within a year, the forest returned. Deer, wildflowers, clean air. The only thing left from Serafina was a story and a 12-year prison sentence in Texas. Last I heard, she was running the inmate cleaning crew. Me, I bought 5 acres on the edge of the woods, built a cabin, no gates, no HOA, just trees, rain, the smell of pine, and ground that never lies. Sometimes at sunset, I flick open the old Zippo and watch the flame dance, reminded that some debts are paid in sweat and truth, not money. So, what's the real lesson here? You can build your world on paperwork and concrete, bribe cops and judges, bully everyone in sight, but if your foundation's a lie, all it takes is someone who knows where to swing the hammer. Truth is the only thing that holds. Would you have done the same? Is justice really just about winning, or is it about setting things right even if it costs everything? Drop a comment below, tell me what you'd do, or share your own story about fighting power, greed, or crooked HOAs. And if you stuck with me this far, you know what to do. Hit like, subscribe, and keep digging for the truth.